Demographic projections indicate that around the year 2040, the over 65 years of age group will be in the range of 24% to 45% of the population across the Atlantic area regions. Older adults often suffer from ill health or disability with subsequent socio-economic implications. Malnutrition is a common problem, due mainly to changes in eating habits, food choice, and difficulties for meal preparation and intake. With their valuable nutritional properties, marine resources can play a major role towards healthier aging. However, the efficient and sustainable use of marine resources poses further challenges. Fishing discards and bycatch constitute a substantial waste of resources that negatively impacts marine ecosystems and therefore the sustainability and financial viability of fisheries. The landing obligation in force since January 2019 poses challenges that could be addressed by developing innovative business lines. Apart from encouraging more selective fishing to avoid unwanted catches and overexploitation, there are more and more initiatives that aim to add value to unmarketable species and promote the use of marine resources in a more sustainable way. Plastic pollution is recognised as one of the planet's main problems, especially in oceanic environments. As Europe is one of the largest consumers of these materials, reducing plastic production is one of the most important priorities of the European Union. Since food containers, together with plastic bags and bottles, dominate global ocean litter, the food industry is one of the sectors that is actively looking for alternatives based on biological resources. Ensuring food safety and quality is paramount for the food industry. Thus, adequate processes are designed to specifically guarantee safety and extend shelf life. Sometimes, shelf life estimations are too conservative, leading to the rejection of products still adequate for consumption, thus contributing to food waste. The use of smart technologies combining the Internet of Things, sensors for real-time monitoring of critical environmental factors, such as temperature, and predictive microbiology models, could optimize shelf life and reduce food waste based on real data. Seafood Age is a transnational joint effort across the Atlantic area, aimed at creating solutions towards healthier aging and a circular economy seafood sector. To reach its goals, the project has developed a sustainable, healthier, safer, high-quality ready-to-eat seafood product from discards to meet the senior adults' needs and reduce food loss. Innovative eco-packaging solutions to replace oil-based plastics. Bio-based sustainable food packaging aims to address not only plastic management and pollution, but also preserve food quality and safety. A smart predictive label to help retailers reduce food waste while optimizing quality and safety, and to support older consumers to make better informed, ready-to-eat seafood choices. The ready-to-eat meal combines a ready-to-eat product, a fillet, with a sauce. It is intended to provide a selection of nutrients required for the older population. The design of the product started in the lab, where studies have been carried out to assess which species have better characteristics to meet the nutritional needs of senior adults. Taking into account availability, 3 fish species were selected: pouting, gurnard, and Atlantic horse mackerel. Additionally, an alga species, Atlantic wakame, was selected to enrich the sauce, due to its high content of macro and micronutrients. The main ingredients of the food product are obtained from these 3 species: fish mince, fish protein hydrolysates, and fish oils. Each species is processed separately. The fish muscle is mechanically separated to obtain the skin and bones-free fish mince. Fish protein hydrolysates and fatty acids are extracted from the skins and heads by enzymatic hydrolysis, as it has proven the best method to obtain the relevant components for human food consumption. The first step is the crushing and homogenization of skin and heads by a grinder. Then a hydrolysis process is performed in a pH-stat reactor, using alkylase as a proteolytic enzyme. And finally, the separation between solid and different density liquids is accomplished by centrifugation and decantation, where the specific fraction of desired peptides is thermally processed and finally dried and vacuum packaged. The brown alga, Elleria esculenta, is grown and harvested in the southwest of Ireland. Ripe sporophylls are harvested from the wild between March and May, and, once cleaned, the release of spores is induced in the laboratory. The algae spores are cultured in a growth medium until autumn, at controlled temperature and light. Afterwards, fertilization is induced by gradually decreasing the temperature from 14 to 10 degrees Celsius. 10 days after fertilization, the culture is blended and sprayed onto PVC collectors that would be moved into 10 degrees Celsius water tanks until they are set to be deployed at sea on horizontal long lines between October and December. Line positioning at sea is critical, as their depth will determine the successful development of the algae. Generally, the growing lines are 100 to 200 meters in length, with a 2.5-ton mooring block at each end of the line, which is maintained approximately 1 or 2 meters below the surface. After 5 or 6 months, the algae can be harvested and is ready to be used. All ingredients from the previous step were integrated into a formulation created to meet the nutritional needs of people over 65, produced under milder processing and maximizing organoleptic characteristics. The result is a fillet-shaped fish meat product, enriched with proteins and fatty acids. First, fatty acids and protein hydrolysates are encapsulated to avoid undesired organoleptic effects by mixing, dehydrating, and grounding to a powder texture. To create the fish fillet, 50% of the mince from the 3 species and encapsulates are blended, creating an enriched dough that is added and mixed with the rest of the fish mince. The final dough is then shaped into individual containers. Fillets are packed, pasteurized, and cooled to the recommended storage temperature. In addition, different sauce recipes enriched with algae extracts have been tested to be part of the final ready-to-eat product, including marinara, curry, and green sauce. When carrying out sensory analysis by both final consumers and trained specialists, other shape options, such as balls, have been included to obtain additional information on preferences in this regard. The participation of target consumers in sensory analysis contributes to increasing the probability of acceptance of this new product, as its recipe and organoleptic properties can be customized to better meet their preferences. In the Seafood Age project, 2 plastic-free solutions have been tested to be implemented in the fish food industry: algae-based sachets for liquid contents, and an edible coating to protect fish products. Plastic-free sachets are 100% plant-based and compostable packaging, a perfect replacement for PET or PE sauce sachets and pots that can be thrown out with organic waste. In the framework of the Seafood Age project, their resistance to heat and acid has been successfully tested with the different sauces used in the project recipes. Its production has been scaled up to obtain 400 sachets per hour, with a capacity between 10 and 100 millilitres. In the future, cartridges of plastic-free materials and the sachets machine could be provided to food and drink or packaging manufacturers, enabling them to produce sachets of different sizes and thickness for sauces or drinks as desired. The coating solution is made from either alginates or quitosan from marine origin. The coating solution is prepared from dry ingredients by mixing the powder with a suitable solvent solution and additives like plasticizers. For the project lab trials, the chosen approach has been dipping method, which consists of immersing the sample into the film-forming solution. However, industrial-scale spraying is more suitable, as it offers the capacity to apply a controlled coating amount onto the product while avoiding cross-contamination. The last step would be packing the coated product into an outside film packaging with the source, and ensuring additional protection during storage and distribution. A smart predictive label completes the integrated solution proposed by Seafood Age. It includes a real-time temperature tracking sensor, together with an app with algorithms to estimate microbiological load. This device could contribute to determining the shelf life of the product more accurately and efficiently, increasing food safety while reducing food waste. The temperature sensor feeds a mathematical model integrated into a mobile app that would be able to recalculate the best before date and release an alert should critical temperature abuses events occur. Additional information on the product properties for final users can also be included. The design of the schematics and layout was developed using PADS logic software. The components were created or imported to the software library, and the schematic and connections created. Once ready and checked, the layout connection was formed with the PADS layout tool, defining the size and shape of the smart predictive label. Components were placed in the layout and traces connecting them, where different colours mean different layers. For the manufacturing of smart predictive label, screen material and parameters were chosen on the basis of the needs and performance requirements of the printed layer. It must be thick enough to enable good conductivity, but not too thick to allow flexibility and low material consumption. Due to the relatively small structures on the layout, high-quality screens were needed. Inks for printing are checked and mixed, and the screen is cleaned and inserted into the machine. After setting the best parameters, the printing process proceeds layer by layer under visual monitoring for detecting abnormalities. Each layer is then dried before the next one is printed. The structure is checked for any shortcuts, missing sections, surface quality deviation, etc. Components are finally assembled and cut, and the firmware uploaded into the smart predictive label. The hardware embedding the temperature sensor collects the temperature profile all the way from the producer to the retailer. These data are accessible through an app that forecasts temperature numerically and also visually. The app was implemented in such a way that if a temperature abuse happens, the user will be notified. This data is then fed to a predictive microbiology model, which was specifically calibrated for the food product, and it is able to account for shelf life modifications due to the temperature profile. Best before date can be shortened if required. Retailers and consumers will have access to the data and the model predictions through a QR code which can be read from a smartphone. The app has been customized for different users in such a way that retailers will have access to detailed information, while consumers will gather information on the ingredients, cooking advice, the origin of the raw materials, information on the packaging, and best before date in a nice visual format.